Ever since I was a little kid, I've always been fascinated with aquatic life. It's been something that I've had constantly throughout my whole life, and today I'm going to talk about how to properly care for fish. To start off, I want to say that I'm an experienced fish keeper with over a decade of experience, always having an aquarium in my house, even at one point having three at the same time. The main things we'll talk about today are cycling your tank, making sure your fish are compatible, and maintaining a cleaning schedule. The most important step in starting an aquarium is making sure your tank is properly cycled. To cycle a tank, you basically have to let the tank run to allow beneficial bacteria to grow in the tank. Beneficial bacteria is what eats the waste in the tank, which allows you to not have to do a water change every single day. If you don't let beneficial bacteria cultivate in the tank, the leftover food and waste in the water will make the water become toxic to your fish, killing them. According to the RSPCA, which is the largest animal welfare company in the UK, you should do a fishless cycle, which is when you run the tank without fish for around 2 weeks. You also have to begin the cycle by seeding the aquarium with beneficial bacteria to kickstart the growth of the bacteria. This can be done by either buying a product from a store that contains beneficial bacteria or using filter media from an already established aquarium. Throughout the course of cycling, it's important to test the water parameters to see if the cycle is complete. To test the water, you can either use the test strips or drop test kit. The test strips are cheaper but less accurate, and all you have to really do is put a little strip into the water and it will change colors depending on the water parameters. The drop test kit, which is more expensive but more accurate, requires you to get a little vial like this, get some aquarium water, and then you put a certain amount of drops in it depending on what you're testing, and it will change colors. And then you will compare it to the colors on this. For example, to test pH, you'd have to just add 5 drops and then compare it to this first little column right here to see what your pH is. Another alternative is to test the water is to take it to a local pet store because they usually do free water tests. Now, back to the way you'll know if your tank is cycled. You'll know your tank is cycled if there's been a large amount of ammonia and nitrite followed by 0 ammonia and nitrite. And by that, I mean one day you'll test it and there's a large amount of ammonia and nitrite, and then a couple days later you test it and then there's 0. Now that your tank is cycled, what fish do you want to add? The importance of this step is to do your own research to see if your fish are compatible with the tank and each other. For example, it's important to have the right size tank, water temperature, and one of my most important ones is to make sure your fish can live together, because some fish will outright just eat each other. So it's especially important to make sure they don't. The last step of taking care of your fish is to make sure you maintain the tank for them. Something you'll have to do every day or so is to feed your fish, but it's important not to overfeed your fish as it can cause them to overeat, get bloated, and die. You will also have to do some tank maintenance every month or so, which will be to do water changes. To do a partial water change, you'll siphon out all the debris, fish poop, anything just floating around in the water, around 25% of the tank, and then you'll fill it back up with dechlorinated water. Another thing you should do around every month or so is to check your water parameters to make sure they stay consistent. So in conclusion, you have to make sure to cycle your tank, make sure your fish are compatible with one another as well as with the aquarium setup, and continue to maintain your tank properly. Fish keeping is a rewarding hobby that I've had a passion for most of my life, and I hope that you guys can use all the information you learned from this to one day enjoy this hobby as I have.